with you once again with my wonderful colleague and the co-host of this program, this show, at Talk Live, once again with you. And today my background is changed because I'm not in my city, I'm outside my city, and that will actually be different. And doing this show live from one of my friends' home. And we have a wonderful guest with us today. But before Tammy, you introduce the guest, let me tell the people and the audience who are with us today that this Ed Talk Live is a collaborative project of Pakistani AACD and AACD, and we try to bring the best voices from the world on education to discuss the wonderful ideas, the experiences, and the research that the people have done. So our previous shows are available on our YouTube channel. Do visit the YouTube channel and subscribe it, and you can watch the previous shows. So Tammy, welcome.
Hi,
how are you?
I'm pretty good. How about you?
I'm cool. I'm good.
Good.
And who is with us today?
Well, it's exciting to have Craig Martin with us. Hi, Craig. How are you?
Hey.
So Craig is the executive director of the Bridge Boston Charter School, which is a K-8 campus in Roxbury, Massachusetts. He was awarded with the amazing title of 2018 Nationally Distinguished Principal and Massachusetts Elementary Principal of the Year. No big deal there. He's also an AACD Emerging Leader 2012. So he's a little bit senior to us, Umair. He was also awarded 2009 Educator of the Year. And we know him as Principal of Dope, which I think is awesome. Craig loves to travel, play spades, work out, eat, and spend quality time with his loved ones. And hopefully his mom has now tuned in. So hi, Mom. And an exciting thing that's coming up for the three of us, actually, it's kind of nice to have us here right now. We'll be leading a roundtable discussion together with a couple of other emerging leaders in LA next year at Empower 20 on having conversations around our personal biases and understanding each other's differences. So I'm looking forward to that and continuing our brainstorming and planning for that in a few months. So welcome, Craig.
Hey. It's pretty exciting. I thank you both, Umair and Tammy, for just making some time for me to spend time with you.
Yeah, thank you so much. So one of the things that we always start the show with is, because a lot of our guests, most of our guests so far have been our AACD family. And so can you just tell us a little bit about how you, I mentioned that you're senior to us, to Umair and I. So how did you become involved with AACD and get into the Emerging Leader program?
It's bittersweet, but it seems like AACD found me. I was a fifth grade teacher and also just a tech, specialist in Roxbury. And I guess I was doing some interesting things with digital storytelling, robotics, and just trying to stay connected with professional learning communities, via social media. And to be honest with you, I got, an email that said, you're someone interesting that we would love to get to know. We'd love for you to fill out the application. And I think that's how it happened.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. So in the time that you've been in the Emerging Leaders, so what are some of the things that you've found have been beneficial for you as a professional? Because you are one of our Emerging Leader alumni members, which is amazing to have you as a Global Engagement Work Group member. And so what are some of the things that you've found have helped you grow as a leader, educator in your time with AACD?
First and foremost, just the family, just the AACD family. I think many of us are unicorns in our own right. We do really interesting things in our spaces, and we continue to push ourselves and try to push our communities with innovative and interesting ideas. And it just feels great to be among people who are thinking differently, trying to push the perpetual box. But ultimately, we are all connected because we want to see our communities just be better spaces, where kids and families can thrive. And so just being part of the AACD family through the conferences, the social media, and even when you have an opportunity to meet people, through travel, it has been really great and rewarding for me.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think just having, a few years ago, I didn't know anybody from AACD, and now I've got this huge bank of a big family, which is so awesome. And one of the things that you mentioned is, you kind of reach out to these people and you bring it back to make the improvements and make some changes in your community. And so that's what we're talking about today, which is really exciting because we haven't really talked about this yet on any of the shows.
Yes.
Is turnaround schools. So any of our viewers watching, we have people watching from many places. So can you tell us a bit about what is a turnaround school?
Sure. To be very concise, a turnaround school or a turnaround campus is a school community that's not working or not performing at the level of excellence that they would hope for, that the state or district may indicate. What you probably are experiencing in a turnaround campus is low achievement, low growth. Many times turnaround school communities are in rural areas. Maybe they're in urban areas as well, and they have high populations of students who have high needs, or maybe economically disadvantaged, may have a number of language development needs as well. And so when those school communities for years on end continue to experience achievement at such low rates, you may be named a turnaround community based on a state or even a district.
Okay, makes sense.
Cool. Okay, Craig. The thing is that this terminology is a bit new for the people, but the thing is, what are some of these practice changes that teachers face in a turnaround model? So when we go to some teacher and we tell that there is a turnaround model, so what are the basic practices that you suggest or the changes?
Sure. Well, in my experience, working in Boston, being a principal for 6 years at a school community in South Boston, what we first needed to do is make sure we had the right people on the bus. It is incredibly important to have very passionate people who are mission driven, data driven, and are willing to say, hey, I don't know everything, but I'm willing to give my best effort. You have to have people who have that neuroplasticity, to say, I'm going to open myself up and shift my paradigms in order to do some really great work. You also want those people to be very empathetic, but not apathetic, because our kids are absolutely amazing human beings and they have the ability to grow. They may have circumstances and situations that may challenge their ability to project in the way we would like them to, but it does not mean in any way that they can't excel. So what I found is making sure you have the right people on the bus, using data to drive the conversation. I have a whole collection, here, but one of my favorites is leverage leadership. I love Paul Bambrick Santoyo. So if you don't have this is like your Bible. You need to have this as part of your work, because and he also has done data-driven schools as well. We live and die by data, qualitative and quantitative. So I began to just to publicize data, regardless of whether or not it's positive or negative. Data is data, and it gives us feedback on whether or not we're doing really well with what we're saying we're doing. And I'm not just talking about test scores. I'm also looking at attendance. I'm looking at social emotional learning. I'm looking at what is the kid saying, because the kid survey data, the parent survey data is also critical. So I make sure that we are actually utilizing all kinds of data sources, publicizing it, putting it in the hands of people who can actually make change, starting with our kids and making sure it's friendly enough that they, on this, on this assessment or on this task, this is where you are. However, here's what you need to be at. And so our job then is to figure out, well, how do we communicate in a very explicit way? If you do these things, this is going to move you. And so data has actually been super important as well. Three, I would say you have to have people who also have a spirit of resilience, because it is hard. The grind is hard. You're not going to see an upward trajectory immediately. Sometimes you just have to say, you know what? We're just going to weather this storm. Our scores, our outcomes weren't exactly where we need them to be, but also knowing that you're building and holding on to a space of resilience, which I think is super important. Mm-hmm. So those are some of my top three.
Okay. And so I'm not sure what happened to Umair. He's lost in space there somewhere for a bit, but hopefully he'll pop back in. So just thinking about that, it sounds like admin and teachers, there you are.
I'm back.
You're back. It sounds like there's a synergy then between admin and teachers, because like sometimes we look at, well, what do the teachers have to do and what does admin have to do? So how did you find that you could sort of bridge that, I guess? And so were there some of the same things that everybody was doing, and were there differences?
Yes. Really great question, Tammy. What I've learned in being a leader and also cultivating leaders and talent is that I've not encountered someone who wants to fail on purpose. They don't want to fail their students. They don't want to fail on that treadmill. They want to actually experience a level of success or growth. And our job is to coach them. It is about, providing them with the kind of supports that put them in the best and most optimal opportunity to be successful. Mm-hmm. So it meant that I'm sitting and I'm modeling what I'm expecting of my teachers and my teacher leaders, giving them the space to practice and actually have consultancies. And then I also then gave them feedback. So thanks for the feedback is also another great, book. And making sure that feedback is constructive, that is designed to build our educator force, and also for the leaders as well, because that's critical. And then leaning in and saying, you know what, I'm creating a space that's not judgmental. Because what I also found is if people feel like you're judging them, and you're spending more of your time evaluating them versus actually developing them and cultivating their talent, they don't actually buy in. Because they need to also feel like, based on what you're giving them in feedback, that they're going to actually get better. And when people feel comfortable and they feel confident in practice, and you're right there alongside of them, knee to knee as partners, and say, I'm here with you through this. I found that my relationships with my teachers and also my colleagues has been much more powerful and impactful than I ever believed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And just before you go on, Umair, so what did you find then, Craig, that because turning around a school takes a lot of time, effort, energy, as we've been talking about. And so what are some of the things that you found that you had to do to help push people along? Because, everybody's going to have their ups and downs. And so I'm sure our viewers would want to know, like, what's something like when you're having a down day or like a lull, right? And everybody's like, this is so hard. What else can we do? What are some of those things that you found have been positive and successful with some of your teachers, or even a teacher where it's like, some kind of conversation or whatever worked best?
First and foremost, celebrating the small wins. I have hosted a fashion show on a dime. We are good for saying, okay, we're going to turn some music on. And if anyone has ever followed me and saw, I am quick for a dance. But I am quick for a dance. Y'all know this already. And there's nothing that will stop me from shimmying, from time to time. And I think that, music matters. Also, just creating a space of joy. So sometimes it's about, you know what, I'm going to put some donuts in the teacher's lounge, or I'm just going to, write a handwritten card that says, hey, I really just appreciate you for who you are, because the work is hard. And not just the lives of our kids, but also the teachers. There's so much that happens in their development that you also have to do that work within. And so that's been critical for us. So we have done what I call, I've done a Breakfast of Champions, and I've also done a Community Day of Scholars, which are quarterly celebrations of student scholarship, citizenship, and leadership. And I don't just recognize the kids who always get it right and are always the greatest students. I also acknowledge the kids who've grown the most as well, socially, emotionally, and academically. So this actually, at the Perkins in South Boston as a principal, there was a kid, I'm going to call him Remy. Remy was a kid who basically said on day one, I'm letting you know about 9 days, I'm going to be out of here. I'm not going to be here. He was a fifth grader. He had just literally joined us for that year. And so Remy stayed on longer than he ever anticipated. And so what happened was he wanted to show us all of his bad boy antics. Sure. And I just kept letting him know, look, it's great. You're not the first kid who's done it. You're not going to be the last. And what we did was we created a platform to amplify his growth. And he saw himself on one of our bulletin boards as one of the most improved. He got awards. And at that Community Day of Scholars, he puffed up. He was like, oh, wow. And so, I think we called his mom as well and said, Mom, you need to come in. There's something special that's going to happen. And so all of a sudden, from that moment, when we saw that he puffed up and he got excited, we said, you know what, we need to change our platform. Let's move to a growth mindset platform, and let's move our awards from achievement to growth over time. Yeah. We saw more students celebrated. We actually amplify our population of students and their climate and culture. And it really did amazing things. I mean, we grew by 320% because we made that shift.
Wow, that's amazing. That's a huge turnaround.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. So, Craig, what do the students and families expect them in a turnaround school? I mean, how they take it and how easy it is for them to digest. And additionally, the most important thing is, it's always a challenging thing for the parents as well, because they have their own understanding about the conventional schooling system. So when there is turnaround, how it benefits them?
Well, when I first started, it was hard. It was very hard to receive the news that your school is a failing school, to actually hear that. And people will be, in the beginning, my first few years, they were like, but it doesn't look like a failing school. It doesn't feel like it. And I'm like, well, our numbers, our data is telling us that we are not where we need to be, and we got to get better faster. And so parents held on to the promise that we were going to get better. Incrementally, they saw that we shifted our culture, our norms. We celebrated more often. We brought parents in, and we tried to educate them to the best of our abilities so that they understood what they could do as a community. And over time, we saw more parents deeply involved, not in just like helping out with bake sales or just coming for the award ceremony, but they were trying to work with their kids at home. They were participating in after-school programs and some of the surround care pieces as well. Because the other thing that people may not speak to when it comes to turnaround practices is the whole child. And we know as AACD that the whole child, regardless of whether or not you live here or in Pakistan or in South Africa or in Australia, that that whole kid comes with so much. And that kid comes with a family that has a backpack full of, not just cultural richness and language and traditions and those things, but they also come with challenge, whether or not the meals that they have are primarily at school, or whether or not the clothes that they have are really that 2 pair of uniforms that you give as a school community. That might be the clothes that they have for a long time. Yeah. And so what we also had to recognize is, how do we engage our parent base and let them know we value you, We value you as partners, and that we are never going to work towards diminishing you as a first teacher of our kids. And so with that disposition and that attitude and that messaging, we saw that our families was much more involved because we gave them the tools so that they could be successful in the parts that they could. Because our parents felt like, well, we don't know this new math and we don't know this writing program that you're doing. That doesn't make sense to us. What they didn't know was, hey, I actually can do these really awesome things at home with my kids. And I see they're excited and they're teaching me how to do things. And we just saw such volume from that.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing. Yeah.
Great.
That's so great. So in this process, I'm wondering because you've done your own kind of well-being turnaround. And so did you do this? So did you do this at the same time as you were working through a turnaround school? Like, is that something that you recognized at the time that you needed to do? Or how did you make your own personal / professional changes to improve your own well-being?
Yeah, when I first, when I was living in New Orleans, cornbread fed, paid all my people, that nation. What I learned at least in my family, in the culture around me, food was, yes, family engagement. Hey, Brenda. Hey, Brenda. What I found was people actually came together and shared traditions, norms, and things like that through food. And my family is one of them. And so I got comfortable, not just in celebrations, but also in dark places where I use food as my best friend. And so I blew up to 356 pounds at one point. And so part of this, like a lot of this bothered me, but I was wearing it like a shield because I had gone through so much as just a human being. Yeah. And so what I made a decision to do was, when I was a teacher, I saw my 5th grade kids and I wanted to run around and play ball with them, but I was winded and I couldn't do what I wanted to do. And I traveled to Africa, I think the summer of 2008, 2009. And I wanted to be able to move about the global space in a different way. I was like, I can't keep doing this. And so I made a decision that I wanted to be active, that I wanted to be present, that I didn't want my physical body to slow my ability to connect with kids. And so I started working out. I had a very interesting trip to Vegas, which is probably, a video in itself. With a really good friend, and it changed the game. So when I came back, I changed my diet, and I also decided I'm going to work out. And I've, lost over 100 and some pounds. I've maintained that, and I just know that the people I'm surrounded by, whether or not it's the Fit Leaders family, there's a number of people in the AACD family who are very active out there that motivate me. Like Phil Eccles, who's like just a dope dude all day. Yeah. And I just said, you know what, I'm going to stay with this journey. So this morning I went to Orange Theory, which is a circuit training experience, and got my workout on. And, I'm just going to stay with it, because I can't speak to families and kids and communities and partners and talk about the whole child, and I myself am not whole when I'm presenting myself to the community.
Yeah, I think that's a really powerful statement, because we are trying to meet the needs of the whole child. And it's exactly it. If we aren't whole, if we're not healthy, and that's physically and mentally, we can't meet the needs of our communities. And so thank you for sharing that, Craig. And I'm glad that you brought in like some of your travel stories too, because I was going to ask a little bit about your your most recent trip. You did quite a jaunt. So I was wondering if you could share a little bit about that, and if you learned anything about some like kids along the way, and just to kind of, because we've only got a few minutes to wrap up, and I'm stealing all the time, Umair. Sorry.
So,
I'm just nattering away.
Well, Mary's like, I'm here.
Yeah.
I just provide the link.
I love listening to your conversations. Awesome. It's okay. It's cool. I'm cool.
So I had the chance to go to South Africa. It's been on my bucket list forever. I wanted to go, and it was amazing to visit schools that actually are all interesting. All had educators and scholars and parents who were all engaged, all present, and doing some interesting things. And going to South Africa, you know, I don't know. It's like you have Nelson Mandela and Winnie Mandela that just if they wrap you up in like a nice hug, and I just strongly believe that people have the ability to change, the atmosphere, and I did not encounter anyone who felt nothing but pride in their walk, regardless of whether or not they lived in a tenement community that had aluminum housing and an aluminum framing, and dirt floors. They still gave everything they could so that the kids in that community could be served. And so I went into some places that, here in America, I don't know if people would know how to cope. When you have this type of an experience that is, that kids are coming from and living in, and then coming to school every day with all of that, and still know I need to learn 2 or 3 languages. I still need to learn mathematics and be able to communicate my ideas in print and also orally, and that I still need to get a job. But I don't have running water in my home, and I have to go to the bathroom in a porta potty that is probably a mile away, or a ditch or something like that. And I also went to schools that are brick and mortar and well-resourced and amazing. But everyone had a spirit of resilience. Everyone had a spirit of excellence about, we need to move forward. We need to do something that honors our name and honors our family. And I came back rejuvenated and felt like, okay, I'm not doing enough, because I still have so much more to do. Because I feel like what I would love to do is figure out, how do I bring more of our kids who are in the communities I serve to a space where they're intersecting on a day-to-day basis with young people who have different experiences from them, because I need them to appreciate what we have, and also have an open space and heart for something different from what they are knowing so much. So yeah, it was great. I went to South Africa, Johannesburg, and Cape Town, and then I ended in Dubai. And Dubai is definitely different from what I thought. I was only there for a couple of days, but it really made me think about my multiple identities and my values, and navigating space differently, and being a person who was of African and African American descent, being in Dubai. It really opened me up to some questions that I'm going to really ponder for a while about, just my ability to walk liberally, but also when I had some of my female colleagues walk through the country, how conservative it is in regards to Dubai, and just really thinking more about how we engage in educating women and girls as well, and preparing them for a much more global experience.
Yeah. Really, really interesting. Okay, I'll hand it over to you, Umair, because I've been hogging the conversation. Sorry. Do we have any questions from any viewers, or a question from you? An additional question.
Additional question. Yeah, well, I mean, Craig has elaborated a lot of things, and it's amazing to listen to him. Actually, today I don't get some big questions. It's already very well elaborated. And one of the comments are with us, and you can see on your screen. This is by Brenda Mendoza. She's appreciated. She said, "Wow,
Brenda. Hi, Brenda."
Brenda is with us. Brenda. She says, "I'm connecting so much with what you are saying, Craig. Yeah, we need to be a whole too." So that's cool. And let's see how the turnaround works. And Craig, you are doing a great job. Yeah. And this is inspiring. And Whole Child, I think, is working really good in many schools who have opted this system and this framework.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, Tammy, it's I guess time to wrap up. You have to share something.
It is. I think I've shared a lot of my questions, but I did mark down the names of the books that Craig mentioned, so I will drop those on the Facebook page for anyone who's interested in those. And then I think I'll be in New York next weekend, so we don't have a show. It's a quick turnaround for me there. But then we'll be back for a couple of shows later this month. So that's what's coming up.
Do visit Hershey's. Buy a lot of chocolates in New York.
Yeah. All the good stuff. All right. Thanks so much, Craig. It's been great chatting with you. And are you going to be in, where is it, in the DC area for L2L CEL in a couple of months?
I'm hoping so. It's right now it's tough, but I'm going to see if I can eke out a quick trip. It might be like your New York trip.
Okay.
And before we go off air, I would like to congratulate all the new emerging leaders of 2019.
Yes.
To this show.
Welcome to the family.
Welcome to the family. So 2019 ELs are with us, and I'm really excited when I'm going to see them, and we'll be having some of them on the show as well.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. Yep. And we've just opened membership for the alumni affiliate. The class of 2017 is now able to become members. So yay for that too.
Yeah. And one more announcement through this show that the Reformer is accepting manuscripts for the upcoming issue. Yeah. And the theme is big ideas, big questions, and how the big questions are made and what changes that can be brought. So the people who want to write for the Reformer, they can go to the Pakistani AACD website and can see the guidelines and the theme details as well. So thank you, Craig. Once again, it was lovely to see you, and thank you, Tammy.
Thank you. Have a good day.
So we are going off here. Thank you. Bye-bye. Take care.
Thank you.